I'm Ellis Martin. Join me now for a conversation with my friend Alexandra Sherron, the CEO and president of Empress Royalty, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange as EMPR, and in the U.S. on the OTCQX as EMPYF. Empress Royalty is a global royalty and streaming creation company providing investors with a diversified portfolio of gold and silver investments. Since publicly listing in December of 2020, Empress Royalty has built a portfolio of 17 precious metal investments and is actively investing in mining companies with development and production stage projects who require additional non-dilutive capital. Empress Royalty applies a financially disciplined approach to investing in these cost-effective operations with strong, experienced management teams and excellent upside potential. This business model capitalizes on the stable cash flow and long-term capital gains of streaming and royalty investments, which allow Empress Royalty to generate revenue and create value for its shareholders. Empress Royalty is pleased to have Endeavor Financial and Terra Capital as strategic partners who allow Empress Royalty to not only access global investment opportunities, but also bring unique mining finance expertise, deal structuring, and access to capital markets. Ms. Sherron has over 20 years of experience in the mining industry. Alexandra started at PricewaterhouseCoopers before joining Endeavor Financial, a global mining finance advisory firm. During her investment banking career in London, she was director of structured financing and was involved in the successful completion of over $1.5 billion in financings for clients including Bema Gold, European Minerals, Nevsun Resources, Uranium One, and Wheaton River Minerals. Alexandra, welcome to the program. It's great to visit with you again.
Thanks for having me on.
I think there are a lot of new eyes and ears in the financial world with family offices that now have mandates, high net worth investors, charity funds around the world. They're all sort of looking toward gold now and silver like they never used to, and they're not necessarily extremely educated about the business like we are. And to point them in the right direction is not necessarily an easy thing to do unless you know exactly what the parameters are in the sector. And let's face it, it's been tough over the last few years. While the commodities are doing extremely well, the equities are not. But there is opportunity, and really the only safe opportunity in my eyes is a company that's near production or headed to production. And that is your business.
It is very much so. So we're a royalty and streaming creation company. And essentially what that means is we either have a royalty or a stream on an asset that's either in production or very close to getting production. We're very revenue focused at Empress. It'd probably be helpful to take even a further step back to explain what a royalty and a stream is. A royalty is where we invest in a company and we receive a percentage of revenue from that operation, kind of like a record royalty or something like that. Then there's a stream, which is similar, but it's different in the sense that we invest into a company, but we receive a percentage of gold or silver at a deeply discounted price. So we pay 20% of spot. We're getting an 80% discount on that metal by pre-buying it, essentially. And there's different ways they're structured and put together. A royalty is much more simple. It's a simple percentage of revenue contract. A stream is a little bit more complex as it's different aspects to that contract. When things are paid, production milestones, typically you take security over the asset as well. So it's got more components to it. When you look at the mining space, especially as a new investor coming into it, there's very different types of ways of investing in the sector. And you and I have both been in the industry for a long time and spent close to over 25 years in the sector and understanding the different types of investment as exploration, massive upside potential. Who knows if they'll turn into a mine? As development, will they have enough financing to get into production? And then there's the producers and what country they're producing and what commodity, what their all-in sustaining costs are. Those typical sort of types, but there's also the royalty and streaming companies. And, if you look at a 10-year spread of the Gold Myers ETF compared to the gold price and then how royalty and streaming companies performed, royalty and streaming companies have performed both significantly. And you're getting that more diversification in it as well.
If these companies are in production and they're generating revenue, why do they need you?
At Empress, we don't buy existing ones, so we are creating them, meaning we're directly investing into those companies. If they're already in production, they're looking for expansion capital. We recently did one that we completed in the end of February, beginning of March for a gold mine, public company listed in Canada that had a gold mine that was already in operations in South Africa, and they needed expansion capital. They had a fantastic mill in place, but they needed additional capital to buy underground equipment development and open up some new phases and further develop that underground mine to be able to feed the mill. So we provided them with $5 million. We're getting instant revenue from that, from the production. But as they ramp up over the next year, the revenue for Empress will also increase. And that's sort of a typical sort of producing one. Then there's the near-term production where they've got some debt, some equity, and they need that last bit of capital to come in to help them complete the construction and get into production. So we look at both sides of that, but very much that direct relationship with the company so that we can really monitor our investments.
Are you getting payment in cash? Are you getting it in stock? Are you getting it in physical gold with that 80% discount?
That's a great question. With a royalty, which we just really have one royalty, we're getting the cash payments every month from it. But most of them, as I mentioned, are streams. So we're getting direct gold or silver credits from the refinery. So for example, with the one we have in Peru, that was another producer that we're helping them expand in production capacity, their gold doré bars get taken from the mine down to Lima and then flown to Metalor in Switzerland to be processed. And then we get that on a weekly basis, those direct gold credits into our Bank of Montreal accounts. We don't take physical gold or silver, but we take the gold or silver credit equivalents.
This sounds like a very lucrative business for you.
It is. It's been a fantastic business to set up. I mean, our net asset value of the portfolio is close to $80 million. Again, we just set the company up 4 years ago, so the revenue is starting to come in. Or in Q3 numbers was $5.4 million US, going up to 6 this year, probably hopefully forecasting to double that the following year. We're forecasting about just under $70 million in revenue over the next 5 years just from those 4 investments. We don't have a lot of operating costs or capital costs compared to local mining companies as a royalty streaming sector as a whole. So we can keep our G&A low, and it's just pure cash that can come into the company. And then we mature as a company, can get to a dividend policy. But as other royalty and stream companies have matured more, they're able to have that royalty dividend policy in place.
So you have almost completely de-risked everything? I mean, I'm saying that you're not, but it sounds like you have.
Mining is a risky business, so I never say anything's completely de-risked. We're also operating globally. We are investing in South America and Africa. There's always a risk element to this. We're typically investing into single asset producers. So there's definitely risk involved in it, but there's huge upside potential. When you look at our net asset value, it's about $70 million. Our market cap is $35 million Canadian. And if you look at the cash, the NAV, the price to cash flow ratios for next year across the sector, it's about 25 times, and we're trading at about 6 times. So we took half of that. There's a huge potential for a re-rate of Empress.
What are you hearing about 2025 in our sector?
I've been fortunate enough to attend a couple conferences, meeting with investors and shareholders, potential investors and shareholders, and also hearing some great insight. I was just at the Swiss Mining Institute and heard some outlooks there. I think people are very bullish on silver as well as gold. Obviously, gold's back a little bit, but I think there's expectations for it to continue next year. I was at the New Orleans Investment Conference as well and got to hear some fantastic economists and speakers at that conference, and their outlook is sort of similar to that. You mentioned early in the discussion, I'm seeing different groups coming into investing in our sector now, and we're definitely starting to see that. People who want the diversification in their portfolio are allocating sort of 10% towards the precious metals I've been hearing, and there are sort of generalists coming in, family offices, and they're besides building up their own physical gold and silver, they're looking at different ways of diversifying into the sector and getting exposure to it. But again, there's a lot of different ways to invest in it. And there's a lot of great, I think, champions for our industry who really try to help new investors in the sector understand how complex our sector is, but also with the right management groups who have proven out, which is also part of our investment thesis, who have that track record of success in choosing the right commodities and the right risk profile for each individual is, I think, also very important.
So new money coming into the business, wanting to, like we've discussed, invest in gold and not knowing exactly how to do so. I would think that they should be pointed toward a company like yours, Empress Royalty. But how would you take that investment dollars? Would they buy the stock? Is there a private placement involved? Or you must have a methodology of taking investment to make these investments in these various mining companies that you have in Mexico, Peru, Mozambique, South Africa. Explain that, if you will, because I know we have listeners on this program who would want to know.
We're listed on the TSXV under the symbol EMPR and the OTCQX under the symbol EMPY. Best place to become a shareholder is through buying in the market. We are cash flow positive now. Again, we have that revenue coming in. Our G&A is low. It's $2.5 million US. So we don't need to raise equity. To fund new opportunities, again, we're cash flow positive at the moment, and that will continue to grow as our investment get into full production, like Talaweto, which is owned by Luca Mining. They're just getting fully ramped up, as well as the one that I mentioned in South Africa. But we also have a $28.5 million accordion facility with Nabari, which is a private debt fund in out of the US. And what accordion loan means is we drew down 3.5 to pay our existing debt last year. We drew down 5 to pay for the new investment in South Africa. Got $20 million available to us to acquire new investments, to create new investments. We only draw down what we want when we need it without paying a standby fee. So right now we had $8.5 million in debt. We've been paying that down, but I've got $20 million available to us to plus our cash that will be starting to accumulate in 2025 to reinvest into the portfolio to further grow it out. Again, we can sit back and do nothing and we have this revenue coming in, but I've got an amazing Nora Pincus. She just joined us at VP Court Development last year to really help me build the portfolio out and bring new investments in. So we've got 4 now. I really want to bring in the 5th and the 6th. And again, we don't need to raise any equity for the type of deals we're looking at the moment. We're able to either self-fund or through the facility through Nabari. And we are the only pure 100% gold and silver royalty and streaming company out there, meaning 100% of our revenue is coming directly from gold and silver. So if you have the same outlook that we do of where gold and silver could be going, there's obviously a significant potential for increase in revenue as our assets mature and the financial statements are proving out the concept that we've had. And we're demonstrating that we're delivering on this strategy. And as we get more investor awareness and more market outreach, people can see what a significant potential for we have just based upon the key matrix.
You mentioned Nora Pincus, who I've met and actually spent some time with on a panel at one of these conferences. I know that she's got extensive experience with the majors, and she's quite a negotiator, isn't she?
She is indeed. I had the fortune of getting to know Nora when she was at Nabari. She was a very tough negotiator, and when she was deciding to make a change, she called me and I said, hey, we need to work together. She is definitely tough in negotiations. She's exceptionally bright and intelligent. She's got a fantastic network, and so we've been having a lot of fun working very hard, and she comes from a legal background and from the finance background. She's had the hands-on commercial role finance experience as well. So we definitely love to roll our sleeves up and dig into these opportunities and are both very driven to get some new opportunities into the portfolio.
Well, let's talk about your background for a few minutes. You landed here about 4 years ago with Empress, but you have quite a history with Nabari and elsewhere raising money for years and years.
Yeah, so I started out in 1997 at PwC, just after Bre-X, which was a horrific mining story, probably the wrong choice of words. It wasn't a great time in the mining sector, and everyone was jumping down to the .com. So I had a lot of opportunity to get involved in the audit and the review of different mining companies and BC Mining Survey and various things very early in my career. And then I joined Endeavor Financial, a leading global investment banking firm, as an analyst. We had a fund there. I moved to London. I worked my way up through the ranks to become director of structured finance. I was involved in over $1.5 billion worth of deals. And that really was where I got sunk my teeth into and really enjoyed getting mines into production and helping with that finance portion of it. Part of the thesis for Empress and setting up Empress was Endeavor Financial was seeing that the streaming companies were doing bigger investment sizes like Wheaton River, et cetera, Wheaton Precious Metals now, doing bigger and bigger investment sizes, $100 million plus, and no one was providing the streaming solution sub $25 million to the junior market. So David Rhodes, who's the managing director of Endeavor Financial, we came up with the concept. David and I joined teams with Terra Capital, Jeremy Bond, and we set up Empress with that strategy 4 years ago. We've raised money, we've invested in the portfolio, and now we're starting to see that revenue coming in. But really recognizing that there was a demand and a need for this financing solution to the junior side of the market.
Alexandra, I've enjoyed my time with you today, and thank you for educating our audience as to what's involved with a royalty company and streaming company, and pointing them to perhaps a worthy investment opportunity in the mining space when there are so many choices right now, and the sector has been under duress, but you're involved in a business that is lucrative, profitable, and you are generating income.
We are indeed, and more good things to come. And it was such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to come back and be able to give you updates on new investments as they come into the portfolio.
Looking forward to it, Alexandra. Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Alexandra Woodyer-Sherron, the president and CEO of Empress Royalty, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange as EMPR, and in the U.S. on the OTCQX as EMPYF. Find the company at empressroyalty.com. I'm Ellis Martin.